Hello, welcome back to Sunshine and Country. We've been doing our fencing project this month, so it's been a challenge, but we've been able to figure it out, especially on a lot of uneven ground like this. You see, it's very uneven, not a straight line, not perfectly level pasture land like most people's field fencing. So we had to do some improvising. But one thing I wanted to show was the come along attachment we have here, or the tool, the stretcher. It's like most other people's have, but instead of using carriage bolts or bolts straight through where it grabs the wire still, we're just sandwiching the wire because we don't really need it to really stretch the fence to where at a breaking point. We just want just enough tension to be able to attach it to our post. So and most people that use just to come along, we've seen where they hook just the wire. We've seen that issue where it would move the knot here, would move with the wire, and it creates a much bigger hole than you want. So this sandwiching system here just sandwiches the wire up in that 3 C-clamps, 1, 2, 3, gives it just enough sandwiching tension to where it pulls the entire fence. We had it pull where the wedge lock, we had wedge lock T-post, it actually pulled the whole corner up. So this sandwiching system is pretty strong in itself. It actually pulled the whole wedge lock T-post out of the ground. But it just gives you the amount of pressure this puts on the entire fencing wire, because you're actually sandwiching the wire in between the posts with these C-clamps. Now we were able to wall out holes, just take a normal hole cutter that you can get, but without going through the entire wood, just put just deep enough to where you can get the lips of these C-clamps to where it'll catch the wood, and that's what gives it the pulling power on each side. There and there. So just enough cutout to where it'll catch the wood, the lip, and that'll give you just enough pulling power on each one of these C-clamps. There and there. And for the come along, we're attaching it to the middle one because we want to pull evenly. And then we're using a T-post, temporary T-post. This isn't one for our fencing, it's just a temporarily set in there so we can hook a come along to just to stretch the fencing out. And see, we're doing this run along these pine trees. So this is kind of our interesting path we've cut out. There's Christian, he's doing the stapling to the tree. And you see that the fencing is down a little bit because we want to keep everything on the ground as much as possible. And we're just using galvanized staples and the staple gun there, and just to staple it to the trees. Since these are already fully grown, we don't have to worry about the fence changing on us, and it gives us a nice run there without having to add more T-posts. You see, this path cutout was my son's idea, Christian, which made it a really nice walk-through area here so we can get to the other side of the creek from this side of the property. So we're able to clear this side out. We're going to run it up the hill a little bit that way, and then connect it in with the fence in that way. But this side here, we're making a run here. So this, we're able to keep everything taut to the ground here, even with stretching the fencing out. When it was sloping down this way, what we did is we went ahead and just connected up the fence there, and here, so that we can start angling that fencing downwards, and then start pulling the fencing with that come along and the 2 pieces of 4x4 there, and finally finishing off with an extra post here to get this side down more to the ground, because it was a little bit off the ground, just about an inch. So we had to add this post here, push everything down. See, now it's down to the ground, so this post here is what holding that in place. So makes a nice run there, and just kind of gives you an idea of what you can do here. We got to come back in and fill in with dirt on this because the creek, this culvert got plugged up and it started making its own way. We'll come back and fill it in with good rip-rap rock and more dirt. But basically this whole run here, you see from our fence line, most of you have been used to a perfectly straight fence line, or almost perfectly straight. But you can see here, we're just trying to fence off our property, so to speak. So it's not a straight line. If we went to a straight line, it would come out, it would cut more halfway down this creek area here, which we didn't want. We wanted to follow kind of our property line. So you can see everything is kind of zigzag, right? And so that's not a normal way you would see people do fencing, but that's how we did it. But we did the corner up here with the wedge lock system. Hopefully it's not too shaky. So this gives a nice little area here now that it's fenced off to replace a lot of our really old, really not good fencing across the creek there. See, those are just temporary. We've been wanting really badly, Pager's been wanting really badly to get some better field fencing in, which we're doing now. And also to extend it out to our property line, which includes this creek, so now the animals can have access to this area as well. And they won't get beyond our property line. So here you can see everything is not level. It's up and down a little bit. And then it's also, as I mentioned, zigzag. But you can still do your fencing properly. You can see we did the wedge lock system, and then we'll add a gate here. So we'll have to add something to keep the lean here. So we might add a tension line between this T-post and that one, and add another corner brace here so it'll keep the fencing from sagging this post down. So we do have the T-post hinge kit, but the 6-foot gate is too heavy, so it pulls down on here and it drags the ground. So we got to figure something out there. You can see here we just tied it in like people normally do. Come around the corner, the wedge lock system there locks that corner in place, and we come on the outside here and here, and then from at that point when we're pulling the fence with the 4-wheeler, we're attaching it to the inside here so it'll keep more tension so animals can't push out. So, but it was a challenge to pull this fencing because it's not a ton of space here. So we used a 4-wheeler with that 2-piece of 2x4 wedging system we have to lock the entire fencing in place, and we're able to pull with the 4x4 straight out that way the entire line here, which is roughly almost 300 feet. Entire line here about 280 feet all the way out that way, and it gave us a good tension. And so as you can see there with the zigzag line with these fence posts, once you pull it straight out, for some of these posts it's going to be hard to push up against the T-post because of all the tension. So what you do is back up on the tension from the 4-wheeler or whatever you're pulling with. Just slowly back it up until the other person tell you it's okay, that they can push it in. You don't want to release too much pressure or tension, but you have to release some of it to be able to get it onto these T-posts where they're more this way as you're zigzagging. So that's the point of it. We stretch it out originally to where it needs to be to get it taut, and then as we connect up each post where we need it to reduce the tension, we just backed it up to be able to push it in, and then continue on pushing it in into each post and connecting it up. As you can see, it's pretty tight, pretty taut, good enough to hold in what we need to hold in. We're doing 10 feet separation between each post, and it's been successful. Like I said, wherever it's kind of level change, you just got to make sure you push everything down to keep it down and lock it in place with the clips, and everything is close to the ground as well. So all right, I hope that helps you out. If you have any questions, just ask it in the comments. But we've been able to successfully do this here within a few days to make this run back around through our property there across the creek. So, and we didn't decide to do into the creek because it would just wash the fence up. So we went across this culvert here. There's a culvert here with a little land area above it. So we just went across it. So we'll find a way to cover up that culvert, and we'll have to keep it cleaned out. We have to keep it cleaned out anyway, even without a grading there, because as I mentioned, it plugged up anyway. So we'll have to keep it cleared up every time there's a hard rain. So, but going across the culvert here was the perfect solution to be able to get across without any chance of the creek constantly messing your fencing up, washing it away. So because it'll come through this culvert area under the fencing. Now of course if it floods, then there's nothing really you can do about that, but on a normal situation, this fencing should hold up fine because it goes across solid land still. All right, hope that helps you out, and really pleased with what we did here, figuring out how to do it on non-level land and zigzagging our posts. So all right, y'all have a good one. Have a sunshiny day. Bye bye.